Hey, what do you do, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're just having a great day. So we have been heavily focused on fixing the old farm implements around here. First up on the list was the baler. That one was the most expensive, most time consuming to get fixed. Second on the list was probably the brush cutter. Third on that list was the sickle mower. I literally had to buy one piece for that was like 13 bucks. Then the hay rake. Absolutely nothing wrong with it other than a little bit of grease. So maybe like 50. So now that all these projects have been checked off the list, we're just pretty much waiting for planting season to see if we can successfully grow hay. And if we can, then that's gonna make for some really cool content coming down the road. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and ditch the green because that's just been like an overwhelming color lately. And we are going to start focusing on something much more yellow, which I cannot wait for. But I have no idea where to even start with this thing because it does have a couple issues. Runs pretty rough, especially once it warms up, it starts to pop a lot. We got some issues with the updraft carburetor right here. Starting this thing just destroys your elbow. Hit me pretty hard once. And a lot of the reason that I've been putting this thing off is because I have not been able to track down what year this thing is. The closest thing we can get to even kind of knowing is this air filter right here. It's a Vortox air cleaner. You can see that it says manufactured by Caterpillar Tractor Company. Then down here it says patented July 16th, 1922 to August 15th, 1922. Now, does that mean that this tractor was built in 1922? Honestly, guys, I don't know. But there's so much stuff that I'm like so excited to dig into this thing. I'm super tempted to open this up to see how all that works. That box just blows my mind away. I really want to see what's in there. But there are going to be a ton of repairs that we are going to make to this thing. I'm even contemplating rebuilding a cab for it. This is going to be a full-on series. This is going to be like probably a year-long project. So I usually say this for the end of the video, but if you guys know any gearheads that might be interested in something like this, please feel free to share. So anyhow, that's what we're going to be working on today. And as always, there may be something else that squeaks its way into this video, but I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go ahead and jump on into it and let's roll.
There's dirt on my hands.
Completely ripped out the holder on this guy, and that's the purple paint. Looking pretty good. Let's see if they line up with the other. I went ahead and drew a line from each hole that we drilled to the one that's on the opposite side. So overall, I think this thing turned out pretty good. I think it's going to perform way better than the old hand crank. That was a workout. That is all right. Well, here goes the moment of truth. Let's see how this bad boy does. So first up on the list, we got to do some backfilling. You guys can see I added a couple hoses here in the alleyway. Anytime we wanted to bring water up to this pen right here, we used to have to drag a hose from all the way down there, which isn't a huge deal, but I figured since I had the well off and we were doing some repairs anyways, might as well add a couple to the system. There is a pipe that runs the entire length of this, so it wasn't really that hard, but we do need to get these filled back in. That is an easy entry for Coyote. And then we have another one that we got to fill in down there. And we're getting some good training today. So the last thing that I need to do, you guys can see we got the hose sitting on the ground over there. We don't like that. We like the hoses up off the ground. So I'm gonna go ahead and make another one of these fancy contraptions right here. Basically gonna take a fence post. We're gonna take a wheel that's been cut in half. If I don't have one that's cut in half already, I'll probably just use an entire wheel. But we do like using these to keep the hoses off the ground. Keeps the rabbits and the squirrels from chewing them up. So as far as wheel donations go, we got some pretty solid contenders. And I'll be 100% honest, I don't even know where these came from. I've never had anything that was 5 lug. I don't know. I'm not sure where they came from. Trying to figure out if we go with the chrome bad boy. Looks like we got a Toyota Tundra tire down there. That looks like an old Ford Ranger wheel to me. I think we're gonna go with this one. No. Come on, let's go. So we used to have this guy named Daryl that lived out here on the ranch. He was a retired excavator operator. Dude was just a wizard on machinery. Every single one of those hose hangers that's in the alleyway, he built them. And I think he went on like this rampage of picking up old wheels and tires so that he could build those things. I'm pretty sure that's where they came. Let's go ahead and get this tire dismounted so we can start messing around with this wheel. I don't know if I'm gonna cut this one in half. I may just drill a hole in the bottom of it to stick this up here. I think this is gonna be our vertical piece for it. And then we'll just like weld it to the backside or something. We'll figure it out. After fighting with the tire for a little bit and having this thing smack me in the shin pretty hard, I decided to go ahead and bust out the Sawzall, cut it in half. Still fighting me just a little bit. Completely ripped out the holder on this guy, but we're just about there. I have like that much left to cut. But it's just missing one thing before we install it, and that's the purple paint. Gotta protect those welds. Ooh, still sizzling just a little bit. Oof, beautiful. Since we ground off the galvanized back here, you gotta protect it, you know. Out here on the ranch, we build things to last, at least for 5 years. All right, well, let's go ahead and get this thing up to the alleyway. I actually don't know how I'm gonna drive it into the ground yet. I think I'm gonna take the sledge up with me. So as beautiful as this fine piece of workmanship is, we do not want it to stick out like a sore thumb. So what I'm probably gonna do, I'm gonna line it up with this fence post right here, and then I'll go ahead and drive it down till the bottom edge of this wheel is roughly about flush with this. And I think that's gonna be the best way to blend in. So let me go ahead and drive this thing down. I think I can actually push it in quite a bit by hand, and then we'll actually fasten it to this post right here as well. All right, so pretty much done. The only thing left to do is clamp it to this, which I do not have a clamp. I just went and looked for one. So we're gonna use every rancher's old go-to, and that's baling twine. It's a temporarily permanent fix. All right, so pretty much done. The only thing that's missing is the clamp from this post to that post. And I don't have one. I just went and looked for one. I scoured through the shop, couldn't find anything. So we're gonna use old Reliable. This is like every old time rancher's go-to, this stuff right here. There's like an endless supply of it. If you buy hay, you're just like throwing this stuff away nonstop. So I'm gonna go ahead and tie it up. We'll get it secured for now, and then we'll go ahead and hang the hose. And then I'll probably try and remember to actually put a clamp on there. All right, we are set. I think we're looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and get this hose hung up. So we are 100% done with this little side quest that we got going on. Well, I guess not technically. We have a little hole right here. And the amount of stuff that I find underground out here is unreal. I didn't know that any of this was here. There's actually a valve that was inside that water box right there. And that's why I haven't finished backfilling this, is because I need to pick up another box. I need to fix that valve before I like completely cover it up, but it's not a huge deal because we don't have any animals in here right now. Now it is time for the main event. We are gonna head down to the shop. We are going to try and start the 100-year-old grader again. I am going to be changing how we start it though, so I don't destroy my elbow again. And I'm so excited for this, guys. I cannot wait to get that thing into the shop and actually start doing work on it. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time, ever since that thing came out here. So for everybody that's been following the channel for a minute, you guys know when we brought this thing out here, it took us a little bit to figure out how to get it started. Now this is not a very easy machine to start. There's no key switch. This is super old school technology. We got a hand crank to start. And this thing right here, if you do it wrong, will smack you in the elbow or your face or whatever. This thing can cause serious damage. As far as making this not such a complicated thing to get started, what I want to do is retrofit this to actually use the impact to get it started. I'm thinking either the 1/2 inch or the 3/4 inch. I haven't quite decided on that one yet. So in order to do that, we got a couple options. We can either take this one off completely and replicate this disc, or we could cut this piece of square tubing off. I haven't quite decided 100% what I want to do on that one yet. This is not original, so I wouldn't feel bad hacking it up. If this was the original piece, I would take it off, set it in a box somewhere. But since it's not, I may not do that. Or I may just replicate the disc and weld a huge nut to it, at which point we can go ahead and use the impact to try and start this thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this off, then we'll get it in the shop and we'll try and figure out what we're doing from there. So whether or not this ends up being the template or we just reuse this piece, I'm not sure yet, but let's go ahead and make our way into the shop. I did find a pretty good piece of metal that I think is gonna work. I think it's actually a little bit overkill, but since we're hooking it up to an impact, I don't think it's gonna be the end of the world. It's this guy right here. This is probably like 1/4 inch steel. I really couldn't find anything thinner, so that's what we're gonna be using. So this has absolutely nothing to do with the video, but it does have to do with the plasma cutter. I think I just had a pretty cool idea. I was looking for somewhere to set it up here, and then I look over my welder and I'm like, I'll just set it right there for now. I don't particularly like setting stuff on top of the welder. Well, it's a little bit dirty right now. Probably should get a cover for it. But as I'm looking at this, I thought, you know what? What if I built a rack for this thing that actually housed the plasma cutter just on the side of the welder? Now initially I was like, oh man, it would fit perfect right there because the offset's a little bit different, but we need to have this door able to open so we can switch out the wire. So it would have to go on this side. But I think it would be pretty cool to build a little carrier so this thing just hangs out right next to the welder. We don't have, oh, we do have the vent on that side. We got a couple things working against us. But we'll save all that for a video in the future. Let's go ahead and get this plate cut out. So that last cut that you guys saw was just my son doing his very first cut with the plasma cutter. What'd you think about it?
It wasn't too bad.
Wasn't too bad?
Yeah.
You wanna go ahead and show him your first cut? Oh, careful, don't touch it.
I know, I won't. Yeah. It's just a straight cut. A bit bumps, but it's okay.
That was pretty good for his very first cut. He had pretty good control. Like he said, there was just a couple few bumps, but really not too bad. Proud dad moment right now. So back to the plate that we're making. This one right here turned out pretty good. You guys can see that it does have a little bit of a flat spot on it. And the reason I did that, and I don't know if it's gonna work, I'm kind of hoping that it like rests back to the same exact spot every time, that it finds like a happy medium where this just hangs out down at the bottom. I don't know if that's gonna happen. It's kind of what I have envisioned in my head. Hopefully it does. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and transfer this pattern over to this plate. better. Alright, here we go. So I got all the holes drilled. They're looking pretty good. Let's see if they line up with the other plate. It's looking pretty good to me. I guess the ultimate test would be to actually take it out to the machine and make sure that all the bolts line up. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. And then we'll go ahead and get a center point marked out on here. And we will get the nut welded to it. And then when we attempt to fire this thing up, it should be way easier. So let me go ahead and see if this thing fits up. And then we'll get it back into the shop and start welding it up. Well, so far so good. I'm liking it, I'm liking it. Oh, 5 out of 6. Oh, that one's kind of snug, but it still goes. All right, I think we're good. All right, so now it's time to find the biggest nut that we got laying around here in the shop. There might be some big ones in here. I mean, that's promising. That's the lug nut off of an old dually. We'll pull that one out. So far what's laying around the shop, it's this guy right here. I gotta go over and look in my nut and bolt bins, see if we have anything bigger, stronger. But if not, I think that'll work. So I'm sure there's some fancy tool out here that we could use to find the exact center of this circle, but for what we're doing, this is gonna be great. We got the 6 holes around the perimeter. I went ahead and drew a line from each hole that we drilled to the one that's on the opposite side of it. And as you can tell, the nut has 6 sides. So basically we'll just rotate that nut until each point is exactly on one of those lines. And that's gonna give us pretty much dead center. So for what we're doing, this is gonna work just fine. So let me go ahead and get this thing welded up. So overall, I think this thing turned out pretty good. I think it's gonna perform way better than the old hand crank. That was a workout. That is a rough engine to turn. This is gonna be way easier. I think it's gonna hold up pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and let it cool down for probably 5 or 10 minutes though. It's still like scorching hot. Even to the point where if I'm holding it with my welding gloves, it just like transfers through almost instantly. So that thing gets cooled down, we'll go ahead and take it back to the grader and get it bolted in place. After about 10 minutes, it's still pretty warm to the touch, but it's doable. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing installed. And yeah, let's bring the impact out here and see how it works. Now originally I wanted to start taking baby steps as far as impact sizes go because I don't want to turn it too hard and like break stuff. But this is my biggest 1/2-inch impact socket that I have. And guess what, guys? It doesn't fit. So that means we're gonna have to take a step up and go to the 3/4-inch impact. Luckily we can adjust like the power settings on it. So we'll start with 1 and then we'll slowly work our way up and then we'll slowly work our way up and see how it does. All right, well here goes the moment of truth. Let's see how this bad boy does. This is a 1.5-inch socket on a 3/4-inch drive. We are going to go ahead and bump this down. We'll start with power level 2 because I think 1 is pretty insignificant. So, drum roll, I guess, or whatever that is. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and see how our new starter works. I would try and hold the camera and do this at the same time, but that's probably dangerous. I should also make sure it's in neutral. All right, looking good. Fire in the hole, let's see how she does. 0. Okay. This may have just been an epic failure. Oh man. Really? Nothing? Dang. That's pretty pathetic, guys. Severely disappointed right now. Really? Wow. Not gonna lie, pretty bummed out. That really sucks a lot. There's no way. I mean, I have like the big impact, the 1-inch air impact, but I feel like that's too much. This is so disappointing. So we may be wrapping up this video as a massive failure here in just a second. I did bring out the big 1-inch impact to try and turn that thing. And then if it works, maybe I can like consider getting the 18-volt 1-inch impact. It's a very pricey tool just to start this thing. We may end up switching it just back to the hand crank. Live and learn, I guess. But we're gonna go ahead and try this thing. Hopefully it works. We're gonna try it on stage 1 first. Well, guys, I don't think it's meant to be. What a sad day. I don't get it. All right, well, this doesn't happen too often, but we failed. I really thought that was gonna work. Kind of bummed out right now. This thing is an absolute bear to start. So I guess it's back to the drawing board. There is a slot for an actual starter on this thing. It goes right there, I'm assuming. But that opens up a whole nother can of worms. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that original hand crank back on there, just to make sure that it's like not seized up or not locked up. Man, what a bummer that is. Let's go ahead and get this thing back off. Man, talk about the wind being taken right out of your sails. We are back to square one. We got the old hand crank reinstalled. I had not tried to turn it yet, but I'm going to here in just a second. Just make sure nothing's seized up. And then we'll probably wrap up the video and just chalk this one up as a massive fail. But let me go ahead and see if I can get started for the video's sake. And if I can, I will probably pull it around to the front of the shop. But it has been sitting for a minute or two, and the gas is starting to smell a little bit varnishy. So let's see if we can get it started. All right, guys. Well, today ended up being a big old 0. Kind of bummed out about it, but just goes to show you cannot win them all. And today was a prime example of that. And actually getting this thing to start with the Milwaukee was not my main goal for the day. I wanted to get this into the shop. But since it's not running on its own power, I'm not gonna be able to do it because it is a 2-man job at that point. We need someone pushing or pulling with the skid steer. We need someone up there steering it, and I'm just 1 man. But I'm gonna go ahead and put the screws this video. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to watch, even though I didn't get a whole lot done today. But if you could do me a huge solid like, subscribe, share this with your amigos, hit that notification button down below so you guys can continue to see the progress or failures, because I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of failures with this thing as the time goes on, and we are working on it. But regardless, thanks again, and I will see you guys next time. Later.